All right, we gave the applesauce to the first service. They're gone now. We're going to give the vegetables in the second service, and we'll give the T-bone steak tonight. But I heard that the youth were not coming tonight. Is that right, Pastor? Where's the pastor? The youth is not coming tonight. I see. So, but they're not going to be here tonight. 20 of them will? Won't. Oh, only 20 of them won't. Oh, okay. Oh, we'll lose 20. The others will be refined like gold. So what makes a terrorist? I mean, I was a terrorist. That's what I was announced as ex-terrorist, Walid Shoebat. What makes a person a terrorist? What makes somebody in Fallujah drag American bodies in the streets? What makes a group of Palestinians in Ramallah Square, after killing a couple Jewish men who were lost in the street, took them to the police station, and then gutted them out, and the entire community came to participate in this orgy of flesh in which they grabbed the pieces of the bodies and they praised Allahu Akbar, Allah is great, Allah is great. And it was caught in film. A lot of the film was confiscated, but some of that film leaked, and for the first time, few Americans began to see, because it wasn't put on national television. Nobody could show this stuff, it's too extreme. And for the first time, Westerners began to see, like, what in the world is going on? The capital of the state of Palestine, which you guys helped create, all of a sudden this whole night of the living dead, literally, not in a movie, but literally, in which the youth would come and hold a piece of the flesh, whether kidneys, whether intestines, hearts. See, I'm losing the crowd already. But that's the problem. How do you talk about this? Americans cannot stomach things like that. Americans buy their meat packaged already, FDA approved. They don't see the slaughterhouses. Americans are not accustomed to the reality of things, of what happens to some of our troops who are captured in Fallujah. But it must be discussed, because the Bible discusses many of these things. Even in the Bible it says, and I saw the martyrs that were beheaded in the name of Jesus. In other words, there's going to be beheadings. What part of beheading do you not understand? And the days I was in Chicago, we had youth. I mean, your youth, what are they doing these days? Having nice songs, love, peace, and our youth services in Chicago as Muslims. I mean, you can download it on YouTube. It's in my website. You can see the kind of events we used to host. We had hymns. Some of the Islamic hymns that were sung. What kind of hymns did we have? نحن الذين بنينا حصوننا من جماجم. We are a people who build our fortresses out of the skulls of the people that we invade. That's it's just an allegory. Skulls of the people that we invaded. Well, there was a literal fortress built out of skulls in India, built by the Muslims when they invaded India. How many Americans know that the greatest catastrophe that happened, or massacre that happened in the history of mankind, happened in India? The Muslims killed 80 million. 80 million. In fact, no one has been massacred in history in the Christian world more than Islam. Forget the Roman Empire. If you compare the Roman Empire with the Islamic empire of the massacre of Christians, it's nothing, dust. What about the churches in the Bible, in the book of Revelation? What about the church of Smyrna, one of the 7 churches? How many times do you have Sunday school in which the Sunday school teacher will say, we're going to discuss the church of Smyrna? You know, the church of Thyatira, there are different churches in the book of Revelation. What about the church of Smyrna? When was the last time you had a discussion in Sunday school? Today we'll be discussing the church of Smyrna. What happened to the church of Smyrna? Anybody here knows what happened to the church of Smyrna? How it ended? Nobody. Why? It's in the Bible. They were beheaded in the early 1900s. 1920-something, the Turks, the Muslims, decided to massacre the church of Smyrna. And the women came running towards the loading dock, and there was Western ships there, military ships, American, European ships. And they were pleading for their lives. And the orders came that, we shouldn't be interfering in this problem between the Smyrna and the Turks, because we are having right now a delicate peace process. We don't want to disturb the delicate peace negotiations between the Ottoman Turks and the Western allies. Peace negotiations, the delicate peace process. It's so delicate, this peace process, that we all got to die for it. This is why whenever I hear peace process, I'm really alarmed. When I hear war, I rejoice. Because sometimes war is good. Sometimes it is important to bomb Dresden to get rid of the world from Nazism. Not all wars are bad. You have to have wars sometimes. Sometimes you have no choice. You were attacked at Pearl Harbor. You had to have a war. You ended up even bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki and annihilating those cities and ended the war. That's war. But that's always the case. The Church of Smyrna was massacred. And the Ottoman Empire finally was defeated. And now the Ottoman Empire basically is rising again. The Turks are talking about neo-Ottomanism, and they're basically mustering a lot of Arab nations into reviving this Islamic caliphate. And of course, Mahdism is on the talk these days. Even Ahmadinejad is talking that the Mahdi is going to be coming soon because Egypt is falling to Islam. Tunisia, Libya is going to fall to Islam. And the Islamic Empire will revive as it was in the glory days. And I know you're thinking that I'm a strange fellow talking this stuff on the stage, especially the youth right now. But when you grow up, you'll remember what I said, and you'll be dealing with the issue of Islam for many years to come. Islam will be the issue, the major issue that this country will contend with. The oil issues, oil prices will rise, and the monopoly on the oil by the Muslim nations, they will use it, and you will basically be kowtowing to their needs because of your addiction to oil. Now you might say I was a terrorist. Well, you all support terrorism. Every one of you here supports terrorism, and I can prove it. Every time you put gasoline in your SUV, you support terrorism. The money goes to Saudi Arabia, is funneled, and build mosques galore in America. Jihad is exported from the Wahhabists. The wars comes against you when you go to Iraq by this ideology that stems from Saudi Arabia, Islam. And Islam really is manipulating hundreds of thousands of Muslim youth into making them jihadis. And of course, your media doesn't tell you much because, you get in CNN, you listen to the media. I remember the first time I went to the BBC in England, and they wanted to crush me because here I became Christian. I left Islam in 1993, and they had these three scholars that are supposed to be they know everything, They're very smart. And I'm just a guy who's kind of a dumb terrorist who just became a fanatic Christian. So I walked into the BBC, and I remember I started explaining to them the root causes of terrorism. I said, terrorism has nothing to do with the issue of land. Forget this issue about Palestine, the occupation, the refugee problem. It has nothing to do with terrorism. Terrorism is not caused by these. Because 3/4 of suicide bombings exist in Muslim countries that have no occupation. It's got nothing to do with occupation. It's got nothing to do with poverty. It's got nothing to do with any of these things you guys are talking about in the West. The reason a terrorist wants to die and kill himself is because it is mandated in the Quran. The Quran says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٌ بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. I'm not speaking in tongues. I'm reciting verses from the Quran. Do not think that the ones who die in the cause of Allah are dead, but are alive with Allah receiving His blessings. Hello? That means you pass from this life to an everlasting life. You pass through and you get eternal life by dying fighting the enemy. In other words, you must die. So you must be killed in warfare. This is why when the Israelis began to shoot bullets in the air, we opened our shirts. We wanted to die. Why? Because Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, said, by the first drop of the martyr's blood, his sins are forgiven. And he enters paradise, and he becomes an intercessor for 70 members of his or her family. Hello? I know you haven't gotten this piece, because you're not connecting the dots. By the first drop of the martyr's blood, his sins are forgiven. Now, when I read the Bible, I understood Christianity as follows. When Jesus' blood came down, when his blood was spilled, what happened? That's it. The separation has been rent asunder, and now people can come in. They can be redeemed. His blood made us as white as snow. His death, by his death we are redeemed. And so someone somewhere concocted a different tainted salvation plan to tell the people, by your own death you enter paradise, by the shedding of your own blood you enter paradise. And by the way, this is not just in Islam. The Mayans used to kill and behead and pluck hearts. I mean, there's all kinds of things. The devil is in the business of creating wacky religions. And he knows the desire of mankind to want to go to the afterlife. So he's in the business of inventing religions. And Islam is an invention of Lucifer. Oh, well, that's offensive, what I just said. Everything I said is offensive. It is. You might get offended. You know, every place I speak, somebody gets offended. But you know, I learned that you have a right to be offended. In fact, I will die for your right to be offended about what I say. Because that's what freedom is. But while you have a right to be offended, and I will die for your right to be offended, because men and women died before and pled their life and gave their life so we can have the freedom to be offended or to express our offense or to critique religion. But the same men and women that died for your right to be offended also died for my right not to care. Why do I have to care? I notice in America, every time you say something and it offends somebody, you're all worried. I'm not worried about offending somebody, because the cross is an offense. The Bible is offense. Abortion is offensive. To say no for homosexual marriage is offensive. To say no for a homosexual pastor is offensive. And what the heck does homosexuality got to do with somebody who's preaching the gospel? They shouldn't be a pastor, because you're living a gross life. Homosexuality is gross. I don't know. I cannot put a prickly pear with a prickly pear. I just can't. Thank God for women. And in the BBC interview, I remember, the guy says, Mr. Shoebat, it always takes two to tango. He thought he was a genius. It always takes two to tango. You know that English accent? I can't stand that accent. Mr. Shoebat, it always takes two to tango. I said, that is a myth, by the way. It's a myth to say that it always takes two to tango. There's usually a rapist and a victim. Tell us, what did the victim do to tango? If it's true that it takes two to tango, the Jews suffered 6 million dead in the Holocaust. Tell us, what did the Jews do to tango in Nazi Germany, sir? You see, I learned how to ask questions, Jesus style, as soon as I became Christian. You read the parts in the Bible, we see how Jesus talks. It's shocking. Who do you say John the Baptist is? By what right does the Baptist speak? By what right does John the Baptist baptize people? If they said John the Baptist has no right to baptize people, They will be stoned, the Pharisees. Because John the Baptist was considered a prophet by the people. If they say, well, John the Baptist, he's from God. He's got a right to baptize people. Well, excuse me, John the Baptist said that I was the Messiah. That's the argument Jesus made. What does that mean? Jesus asked questions, Jesus style. Well, I call it the checkmate Jesus style questions. Checkmate! Every time Jesus asks a question, checkmate! You only have two choices. You either confess or look like a fool. Always. I said, if it is true, it always takes two to tango, sir. Tell us, what did the Jews do to tango in Nazi Germany? The second person said, they must have done something. You could hear a pin drop. I got him there. He made himself a fool. He chose the fool route. Well, they must have done something. There's the scholar. I said, excuse me? I want to hear that. I want the entire British people to hear what you just said. What did the Jews do? What's that something? He realized he just stuffed the shoe in his mouth. The third person said, I better interfere to help this fella. He said, Mr. Shoebat, I think what you're telling us here at the BBC, that the problem with today's world is fundamentalism. You know that? Fundamentalism in all scales is the problem with today's world. Fundamentalism is the problem. I said, I don't get it. I mean, I know where you're going with that thread, that I was a Muslim fundamentalist and I was a terrorist. Now that I'm a Christian fundamentalist, I went from one extreme to the other. No, sir, we are all fundamentalists. There's a fundamentalist atheist, there's a fundamentalist Muslim, there's a fundamentalist Christian, there's a fundamentalist communist, there's a liberal Muslim who is fundamentalist. Everybody's fundamentalist. Doctors are all fundamentalists. They give you fundamental portions of medicine, and it follows fundamentalist rules. I love fundamentalism. Without fundamentalism, nobody can survive in the world. I said, fundamentalism is not the problem. When I was in the plane coming here to this event, I witnessed to the person next to me. And as a Christian fundamentalist, I confess, I gave this person a headache. I said, it is true, it's absolutely true that a Christian fundamentalist will give you a headache. But a Muslim fundamentalist whacks the whole head right off. And you're telling me there's no difference between the two? Mr. Shoebat, thank you for stopping at the BBC. I said, you can't fool me with that one. I know what that means. That means get the heck out. You want me out of here, don't you? Nice coming here. That same day they had a beheading. There was a beheading, a famous beheading going on, and it was all over the paper, and it's a Muslim, but they must wax your whole head right off. The BBC wanted a second round at it, invited me years later. 17 million people are listening. When you open the phone lines, you see from all over the world, everybody throwing darts at you. The hatred towards the Christian. It's immense in Europe, everywhere. I only got 2 calls from supportive calls. They were Americans. And those Americans who called in, supporting me, gave me so much comfort. Because it is very difficult. You're standing in the midst of wolves. Because Jesus said, I sent you a sheep amongst wolves. And there they had the imam, and the Muslim scholar was saying, oh, Walid Shoebat doesn't know what he's talking about. He's wrong. No. That verse doesn't mean kill. That verse doesn't mean beat your wife. You just slap her slightly. He's not a scholar of Islam. He's all wrong because they had to have this balancing act. They call it, they have a word for it here, even they want to establish it in the media, where they bring the Muslim imam every time somebody speaks and it tries to expose Islam. And in the end of the program, after all these darts I was being hit at from all over, the host of the show asked me a question. She was agreeing with the imam the whole time. She asked me, said, Mr. Shoebat, are you not afraid for your life? I said, excuse me? Can you say that again? Are you not afraid for your life? I said, excuse me? Why would you ask me this question? Had I converted from Christian to Mormon, would you ask me, are you afraid for your life? Had I converted to New Age movement, to Hinduism, Buddhism, whatever ism you want to think of, you would never ask me, are you not afraid for your life? Now, why only when it comes to conversion from Islam to Christianity, you ask me, are you not afraid for your life? It is because a person like you knows subconsciously, deep down in her heart, that Islam is a violent religion and they kill people who convert from that religion. Only a person who knows those facts would ask such a question, ma'am. Thank you for stopping at the BBC. They try to trick you. The devil always tries to trick you. Because I read these prophecies in the end in 1993. 1991. Well, I better not go there yet. Continue with my notes over here. Because many of you will ask, shouldn't you be in prison? I mean, somebody who comes to speak, a pastor invited an ex-terrorist to speak about terrorism, and he's a confessed terrorist. Should you belong in jail? Well, you're right. I do belong in jail. I should be in jail. But again, the Americans, through their infinite wisdom, considered the PLO, which is the terror organization that I belong to, is no longer a terrorist organization. Because we don't want to basically hurt the delicate peace process. There's a delicate peace process going between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And since the Palestinians want the PLO, a terrorist organization, to represent them, and we got to get peace, so we can't say the PLO is a terrorist organization, God forbid. So we basically sprinkled holy water on the PLO, and they are no longer terrorists. So I'm no longer a terrorist. That's why I'm not in jail. Go figure. So I get in the liberal media and they say, if you're a confessed terrorist, don't you think you belong in jail? I say, you know what, you're right. But why is it, you liberal media, you only want to imprison the repentant terrorist, and you want to release the real terrorists from Gitmo? Why? Oh, he's repented. Put him in prison! Oh, he's a real terrorist. Get him out of prison! Waterboarding, oh, God forbid. He thought he was drowning. Well, he just gave us all the clues and the secrets of where Al-Qaeda is. I was never caught. In fact, I confessed my terrorism activity after I became Christian. Before I became Christian, it was all secret. I became Christian, I confessed. Why? Because the Bible demands confession. I confessed. In fact, the whole issue of terrorism, it's a revolving door. You catch the terrorists, you put them in jail, you release them through international. Why is it that it comes to all kinds of systems, only Islam is immune from criticism about terrorism? Now, could Islam be the reason behind terrorism? Could the Quran, the Islamic book, be the one that is gearing the youth to becoming terrorists? Oh, no! Islam was hijacked by the terrorists. Who hijacked it? What's the ransom? I ain't paying it. I don't know who hijacked Islam, but that's the Islam I know. Many members of my family, in fact, if you Google my name on internet, go home and put Shoebat. First thing you're going to get, Walid Shoebat is a fraud. He was never a terrorist. Excuse me? A fraud? Where's the evidence that I was never a terrorist? There exists none. All the criticism that you see, I remember the day the New York Times wrote an article and they were criticizing me, saying I'm a fraud. I was never a terrorist. And I was in the kitchen, I was saddened. I said, Maria, my wife, Maria, I don't want to really go this route. I want to quit this job. I don't want to speak to the American people because I'm getting accused by them. I said, I'm tired going all over the place, being swallowed by a giant metal beast called an airplane and be taken to Nineveh when I want to go to vacation in Tyre. I'm telling you, you get swallowed by this metal beast, giant metal beast, and it takes you up in the clouds. And every weekend, you're gone all over the place. I'm tired of this. She noticed I'm becoming very distraught. She said, honey, who do you think you are? I said, why are you insulting me, Maria? I'm your husband. Now I need insults from you too. She says, I'm not insulting you. Who do you think you are? If they call Jesus Christ a fraud, don't you think they're going to call you a fraud? I said, for a woman, you're very smart. You're very smart. You're right. If you go to the internet and Google Jesus, what are you going to find? Let's see, he had an affair with Mary Magdalene. All the questions, always History Channel. Did Jesus really do this? Or did Jesus, every time there's a question, it's always from the devil. Did God really say if you eat from the fruit that you will die? Did God really say that? If you eat from it, the fruit, your eyes will open up. Always questioning, attacking. And who sucks this information up? The Christians, they believe it. They suck all this information up and they go, oh yeah, he must be a fraud. The New York Times said so. The Jerusalem Post said so. Well, that's how it happens. You get attacked the moment you become a Christian. When you were a Muslim, when I was a Muslim, let's see, I wanted to kill you. I was in the streets of Chicago running an organization over there with a loudspeaker. Who runs the Congress? The crowds will say, be thousands demonstrating in the streets. Israel does. Who runs the media? Israel does. And you can see our events. You can go to my internet, on my website, and you can click, and see the kind of events we used to host. The youth events. What kind of events they used to host? Youth will come out to the stage and they will sing, أنا من حماس وما هتفت بغيرها. We are of Hamas, we call on no other. And then they will sing a song, جينا الصف خضنا الزحف خطينا الحدود. We've penetrated the borders. We've marched in unison. What borders? Your borders. And then you have biblical studies, the Quranic recitation, So the reciter of the Quran will come up to the stage and he'll recite the most favorite parts of the Quran. He will recite, فَإِذَا لَقَيْتُمِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَضَرْبُ الرِّقَابِ, which means, English, if you meet the unbelievers, then strike off their necks. What part of strike off their necks? You Americans don't understand. And you can see it in a video. You can see. Then we get a Hamas leader. They get Hamas leaders, and they have covered their faces, and they will give reports. Praise report. You have praise reports in the church, Pastor? Praise reports. You have praise reports, right? What kind of praise reports we have? A Hamas leader would come, and he would give a praise report: who they killed, what their names were, what bus they blew up, where they dumped the bodies, what it says, the names on the ID. And you have the whole community coming to the event. Muslim community. And as soon as they walked out, they were peaceful Muslims. And you can't believe it. Instantly, peaceful Muslims. Oh, we believe in peace. They were just praising Allah at the praise report about who they killed them, where they dumped the body. As soon as they walk out of the place, they're peaceful Muslims. And they come on TV and you look like the violent one because you're attacking the Quran, you're attacking Islam, oh, you're a bigot. It's very interesting. When I was a terrorist, the media used to come. We were freedom fighters, These are Palestinian freedom fighters. The day I decided to repent and become a Christian, I became a Islamophobic, bigoted, divisive. That's what the churches call you. He's divisive. Hate monger. Racist. Definitely, he's a racist. Fundamentalist, Bible-thumping Christian. Go figure. But if somebody loves somebody, He's going to continue in the path because he sees the somebody he loves. He still cares about that person he loves. He's going to continue getting all the pain and the hurt because he cares about those other people that are about to get butchered by this enemy. It's not Islamophobia to criticize Islam. If it's Islamophobia to criticize Islam, then we're in serious trouble because they criticize the Bible. We don't call them Christian phobia. How come I've never heard of Mormon phobia, Buddha phobia? There's only Islamophobia. Why? Because it's a way to stop you from thinking, from doing critical thinking. Critical thinking is something about this country. Because critical thinking began in my life in 1991 after planting a bomb in Israel. And then taking this trip to Israel began my critical thinking path. I lived in America for several years at this point. And in America, there's something infective about this country. Critical thinking. You can critically think anything you want in this country. There's no, you're either in the party lot or you're in the coffin. So here I was in Israel, in Hebron. And then the taxi cab taking me to Hebron, Mercedes taxi cab, runs into this situation in which the Jewish community bus comes to pick up Jewish workers to take them to Kiryat Arba, which is a community, Jewish community in Hebron. And Palestinians began to stone the bus. These stones were like locusts hurling at this bus. And the Israelis came, they were shooting anti-aircraft shot in the air to scare the people off. And the taxi cab wanted to get the heck out of Dodge. He wanted to make a U-turn. I said, stop, I want to see this. So I rolled down the window and I began to watch in awe. This bus looked like a cage with bars, bulletproof glass, wire mesh. And the stones, you could barely see the bus from the rocks. Stoning still exists. Hurled at this bus. The bus is used to it. Bulletproof glass, wire mesh, and bars to protect the Jewish community that are taken to their little village over there. And the stoning every day like clockwork. He says, this stoning every day like clockwork. And they get in the bus. They're used to it. The Jews are so used to it. Just get in the bus. All this stone sounds like bullets hitting your bus. Bum, 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 And life goes on. I said, why do we stone this bus? We got 1.2 million Arabs living in Israel proper. Nobody stones them there. There has not been a single mosque in the Israeli section that was desecrated by Jews. Yet we've desecrated every single holy place that belongs to Christians and Jews. How many Americans know even the place of Jesus Christ? We know where Jesus was born in Bethlehem. You know the manger where Jesus was born? Do you know it's been defecated in, desecrated, urinated on by Muslims, Palestinians? Muhammad Abayat, a terrorist, he was killed. My cousin was injured when Muhammad Abayat was killed. My cousin was hailed as a victim of Israeli terrorism, when in reality my cousin was with me planting that bomb in the bank. He's an ambulance driver. Ambulance drivers in the Palestinian area smuggle weapons. Desecrated. Joseph's tomb, the Joseph of the Bible. His tomb, desecrated. You can watch it. Just put Joseph's tomb on YouTube and watch how it was burned and chiseled. Read Psalm 74, I believe. So it talks about the destruction of Jewish holy places. The synagogues all throughout the land are being burned. They chisel the stones, just exactly what it says in the text, with hammers and chisels. They burn your holy places. The synagogues in the land are burned. They literally burned it, set it aflame. The place where Joseph's tomb was. Rachel's tomb, desecrated. Churches galore, desecrated all throughout the Muslim world. And Christians do nothing about it. We don't care. We don't care. And I began to question. Why? Are we racist? In fact, when I was racist, I was never called racist. Only when I repented from racism, that's when I was called racist. It's always the case. No, Islam is not a peaceful religion. Oh, that offended somebody. I don't care. Islam is not a peaceful religion. That's the biggest lie. Every time you feel yourself forced to say something, you feel like, I don't want to say this because, that's the lie right there. When you feel pressured, you can't say something. That is so obvious. If Islam was a peaceful religion, why when the Pope made a statement, he said Islam must not be spread through violence, why were they offended? Pastor, would you mind if I gave a lecture in your church? Christianity must not be spread through violence? That would make an excellent sermon, wouldn't it? Christianity must not be spread through violence. You're unfazed. Why would we have such a sermon? Of course, it's so obvious that Christianity must not be spread through violence. Yet Muslims got offended when the Pope said that. Why? Because it's such a reality that Islam is violent. Millions of Muslims took to the streets. They demonstrated in the streets. They carried banners that says Islam means peace. Islam is not a violent religion. And these millions of Muslims who carried these banners, what did they do? They expressed the peacefulness of Islam with these banners. They expressed the peacefulness of Islam through sheer violence. They killed nuns, burned churches. Hello? If Islam was so peaceful, why does it have to be cloaked with peace? Nobody goes around saying Mormonism is a peaceful religion. Any other religion. Only Islam, you have to say it's a peaceful religion. Why? Because it's naked. It has to be clothed. The definition of a peaceful religion, let me tell you how I define a peaceful religion. A peaceful religion is the kind of religion that I say, you know what? I don't like this book. Is this your Bible? Pastor, I'm going to burn the Bible right here. And I just dose it with gas, kerosene, set it on fire, and throw it on the floor and stomp on it. The followers of that religion basically will do what? Pray for you. That's Christianity. Christianity is the faith that if you burn their holy book, the followers of that faith will pray for you. Pastor's going to come up to the stage. You know, I think it was a bad idea inviting Walid Shoebat. But let's just all pray for him. Of course, you're going to chew him out later on. Why didn't you screen him first? And you'll pray for me. The violent religion is the kind of religion that says, you must say, my religion is a religion of peace, or I will kill you. If you burn their holy book, they'll kill you. In fact, if one person from your people burns the holy book and everybody attacks the one that burned their holy book, they will never appreciate it. You ever think about it? One guy wanted to burn the Quran, and every American said, don't! Please! There isn't a single church I know supported this one jerk who wanted to burn the Quran. If anything, this is a sign of a good country, not a bad country. The evidence is so clear. Americans are tolerant. They only demonstrated in the streets to say, please, not by ground zero, don't build a mosque. They didn't go on a spree killing Muslims, because that's not what this country is all about. Then I began to read the Bible. That was my biggest mistake. It's the biggest mistake I ever did. 1993, I wanted to convert Maria to Islam. I said, Maria, it's time for you to become a good Muslim wife. Why, I'm not good enough? Oh, yeah, you're good enough, but you'll be much better if you became a Muslim. Well, why should I convert to Islam? So, well, you know, the Bible has been changed. Do you know all Muslims believe the Bible has been corrupted? The Bible has been changed. Well, can you point out those changes to me? And I will be glad to convert to Islam. Oh, praise Allah. So I bought a Bible, King James, New King James, blue one. Finally, the papers started to fall off. And I wore out that Bible trying to look for the changes and the corruptions in the Bible. I went on a journey for over a year looking at the Bible, comparing it with the Quran. And it was shocking. I couldn't find the problems in the Bible. In fact, I found the problems in myself, because the Bible is a mirror. It shows you the zits all over your face. And I was shocked. Began to read the Psalms. You know, the Psalms are not a bunch of songs. I opened the Bible in Psalms in chapter 80, 81, 82, 83, the whole thing. It's so amazing. You have your Bibles with you? Anybody forgot their Bibles by any chance? Don't come tonight without a Bible. If you come tonight without a Bible, I will kill you. Walid, are you threatening us? Well, what part of threat do you not understand? No, I am joking. Pastor, don't get that nervous, okay? You know, you told me 12. 12, this thing detonates if I don't get off the pulpit by 12. Is that it? 12? 12, right? Oh, okay. I forgot. I'm sorry. I got 20 minutes. You know, when I read the Psalm chapter 80, verse 3, restore us, O God. God, they're praying to God. That's Israel praying to God to be restored as a nation. It's quite interesting. You had made us a strife to our nations, our neighbors. Verse 6, the neighbors will hate the Jews. Exactly what's happening today. Verse 14, return, we beseech you, O God of hosts. They're talking to God, asking him to return. When was he gone? When was he there? God was there, and they're saying, please return, God. Come back. Look down from the heaven and see, and visit this vine. Israel is God's vineyard. Even Jesus talks about the vineyard in Matthew 25. Verse 15, and the vineyard which your right hand has planted. Hello? And the vineyard which your right hand has planted. Hello? Where is God's right hand? Let me research the Bible to find God's right hand. Right there you find in the Isaiah 53, the famous Isaiah 53 that talks about the suffering servant, the prophecy about Jesus Christ. And right there in verse 1, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? God has an arm, his right hand. The whole thing is about the Messiah, Jesus Christ. He's calling the Messiah his right arm. Every time you read in the Bible his arm, it's the Messiah. Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 13. Who is in trouble? To whose phone will I crush? Just kidding now, it's okay. Did I turn off my phone? I don't know. Where is my phone? I lost the bloody thing. That's good. I hate cell phones. To whom has the arm... Ezekiel 25, verse 13. Ezekiel 25, verse 13, what does it say? I have stretched my arm against Edom, God says. God sends the Messiah to fight Edom. I have cut off man and beast from it, and made it desolate from Teman. Even they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. Americans read Teman, Dedan, skip. Don't skip. It says in that prophecy that Christ will come to fight Teman, Yemen, and Dedan. Dedan is where? Arabia. Jesus is fighting, and Yemen is in Arabia too. Jesus Christ is coming to fight the Arabs in Arabia. Can you imagine? Even in Habakkuk 3, Christ comes and fights Midian. Midian is the brother of Ishmael in Arabia. How many times you've studied the Bible in which you see Christ's wars in Arabia when he comes again? It's quite incredible, isn't it? That Christ comes to fight in Arabia. Well, we never heard of that, Walid. It's your problem. It's there. I know what you've been listening to all these years. You know, you've been watching too much Jack Van Impe. You've been watching too much European Union and One World Government and the Illuminatis and what have you, conspiracy theories, computer chips on your foreheads and stuff like that. And, you know, you're going to be demanded to put a computer chip on your forehead. You're going to go to, what do you have, Safeway here? What do you guys have? Alpha Beta, is that still in business? No, is Alpha Beta in business? No more? I remember Alpha Beta's here. What's it called now? Stater Brothers. You're going to go to Stater Brothers and, you know, you don't have a credit card anymore. It's a computer chip on your forehead. So, you know, you go, Sorry, it doesn't work. So he takes your wife's neck and go, her chip doesn't work. No, ma'am. Sorry, sir. You're out of funds in your bank. And everybody's going to get this mark. Everybody's going to get this computer chip, and some homosexual antichrist is going to come from Europe, and you know, and he's going to be an atheist, homosexual. What a bunch of rubbish! You know that's not in the Bible. There's nowhere in the Bible that says computer chip, and there's nowhere in the Bible that says the Antichrist is homosexual. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that he's European. Nowhere. Tonight we'll be going over that stuff. Because in every single nation in the Bible, every single country, God mentions in the Bible that God deals with in the ends of times, every single one of those nations is Muslim. In fact, go home and come back tonight, bring me all your ammo, and name me a single country, one country in the Bible that God deals with, that God destroys in the ends of time, that is not Muslim. Name me one. In fact, I'll give you another challenge. Name me one country in the Bible in which Christ fights and deals with, in the ends of time, Christ. He fights a country, and he names the country, and he's in war with that country. Name me one country that Christ fights that is not Muslim. Not one. You had your homework. You know, that homework has been going on for 10 years, and nobody came up with a single statement in the Bible. Not one. They tried. Not one. All of them are Muslim. Isaiah 19. The Lord comes riding on a swift cloud and is coming into Egypt. The idols of Egypt will totter before him. An Egyptian will fight against Egyptian. Neighborhood against neighborhood. I've been talking about Egypt for years. When Egypt had a revolution, my phone was ringing all day long. Fox wants you, this wants you. Why now? Why all the time when I was killing my voice, my sound, talking about Egypt and Tunisia and Libya, and nobody was listening? What's he talking about? Get rid of that guy. And now I get called after the fact. Why do you always call me after the fact? Why don't you listen when I tell you things before the fact? It's always the case. 9/11 comes. Oh, Walid, hello. Hey, how did you know? You warned about this years ago. I'm Captain Spock. And I'm telling Captain Kirk how the aliens do things. And Captain Kirk has wax in his ears. Egypt will rise as an Islamic fundamentalist state. And so will Libya. All mentioned in the Bible. Yemen, Tunisia, Morocco will be also coming around the corner with Algeria. Turkey is rising. It's going to be the central headquarters of Islamism. And it will fool you by peace. When you see the era which is coming around the corner of peaceful Islam, that's when you should look out. Peaceful Islam. Islam means peace. Islam is a peaceful religion. Then you read the Bible and it says, by peace he will deceive many. Don't be the fool who will be deceived by that peace. Because if you're fooled and you sign and you say, we as Christians make a covenant with Islam, we condemn the war and terror, we want a Palestinian state, we support peaceful Islam, guess what you did? You signed a covenant with the devil. You didn't even know it. But Walid, didn't Jesus say, blessed are the peacemakers? Yes. But what did Daniel say? By peace he will deceive many. When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction will come. You think he was kidding? The whole world will say, peace, at last. We have a Palestinian state. The land will be divided. But what about Joel? What about Jesus coming to earth? How many Americans know? Why will Jesus come to earth first place? Why would he come back? Why is he coming again? For what? What will spark his coming? That's very well defined in the book of Joel in chapter 3, which rarely, if ever, is discussed for the sake of peace. Joel chapter 3, I will gather all nations to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Then I, God in this case, will enter into judgment there with them on the account of my people, my heritage, Israel. There he spells it out for you. He comes to judge the nations based on the treatment of Israel. And he says, why? For they have scattered my people. They have also divided up my land. His right arm, Jesus Christ, will judge the nations for dividing the land of Israel. And you support peace. And Daniel 11 tells us that the Antichrist will divide the land for gain. Hello? Antichrist divides the land. Jesus Christ judges the people for dividing the land. You are pro-Palestine. And Jesus is not. What side are you on? Jesus or the Antichrist? And that's what people don't get. They can do anything they want. So long as I say Jesus, I say Jesus, that's it. I'm saved and that's it. But the evidence of your salvation is, do you follow his commandments? You're pro-Palestine, you're pro-homosexual marriage, you're pro-homosexual pastor, you're pro-abortion, and you love Jesus. You're a liar! You don't love Jesus. You love Lucifer, who you masqueraded Jesus instead of him. You're a liar. Uh-oh. 8 minutes before detonation. Then let us continue the Psalms. Wow, in Psalm 81 verse 15. Psalm 81 verse 15. The haters of the Lord would pretend submission to him. The ones who hate God think in their mind that they submit to God. Excuse me? Whoa! The people who hate God think that they love God? Yep, that's what it says. They think they even submit to God. Submit, full submission. Islam means what? Submission. The ones who hate God think that they submit and love God. Submit to God and love God. Quite shocking. How could somebody love God and hate God? Because they submit to Lucifer, thinking they submit to God. And then he tells you who they are. In Psalm 82, verse 8, arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all nations. Wow, there it is. He will make the nations for his inheritance, Jesus Christ. And that's very well defined in the Joel 3, chapter 2. He inherits all the nations. Messiah Christ inherits the nations. This is huge. In verse 8, God himself arises from his throne to judge the earth. That's Christ. The whole context of the Psalms here is the context of Christ. Yet they teach you that has nothing to do with Jesus. This is a separate battle from a battle of Armageddon. Why? Because the battle of Armageddon is not going to be with Islam. It's going to be with some European, homosexual, atheist, antichrist. That's what you learn. It is what you were taught. You've been watching too much Van Impe. In chapter 83, it names those nations. Do not keep silent, O God. Do not hold your peace, and do not be still, O God. For behold, your enemies make a tumult, and those who hate you have lifted up their head in pride. They have said, come and let us cut them off from becoming a nation, that the name of Israel be remembered no more. Let's wipe the name of Israel off the face of the map. And it tells you what nations they are. The tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites. Hello? Hello? Who are these? The Arabs. Moab and the Hagarites. Wow. Jibal Ammon, Philistia. Jibal Ammon, that's in Lebanon. Ammon is in Jordan. Philistia is Gaza. Hamas. Assyria also came to help the children of Lot. Assyria, the Antichrist comes from Assyria. Turkey, even Jesus himself said, Pergamus, Turkey, thou art the seat of Satan. You are the seat of the Antichrist. Yet you forgot to read the red letters of Jesus Christ on the book of Revelation, and you claim to study Revelation. Every single nation is Muslim. And every single prophecy scholar in this country has been offered a debate over these issues. Guess how many accepted? None. Because they know. Once they get on that platform with Walid Shoebat is going to open the Bible, read all the text, and you cannot escape it. Walid Shoebat is asking Jesus-style questions. Who's going to answer him? But I'm not such a genius. I'm just an ex-terrorist. I stole the stuff from the Bible. I went to the best. And so I stole the best of the best. Now I'm the best. I stole it. There was no copyright. Praise God, no copyright. And he wanted me to steal it. And he names you all the nations, all Islamic, every single one of them. And then it says, 4 minutes before detonation, then it says, shocking. Deal with them as with Midian, as with Sisera, as with Jabin and Ain Kishon. It goes on to say, do to them as you did to Zibah and Zalmunna. Yes, they're princes. Gosh, who's Zibah and Zalmunna? Westerners go like, Zibah, Zalmunna, I don't know, skip. Don't skip, nothing. Every verse means so much. It's talking about Gideon. Gideon is the conquering Messiah. Do to them as Gideon did to the Midianites, Zibah and Zalmunna. Do to the same thing. He's talking to Jesus. And what did Gideon do? In Judges chapter 8, verse 21. If you have the NIV, you're in trouble. In Judges chapter 8, verse 21. So Zibah and Zalmunna told Gideon to arise. And he arose and he killed them. And he took the crescent moons from the camels' necks. And he tossed them to the ground. He took the crescent moons from the high places. In fact, it's very clear. When the Messiah comes, when Jesus comes, it says in the Bible, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess. Bel bows, Nebo stoops. Yeah, I know, you want me to say, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. That's the New Testament. What about the Old Testament? You don't read that stuff. No, you don't need the Old Testament. The Old Testament gives you more stuff. Every knee will bow, every tongue will confess. Bel bows, the crescent bows. To Christ. The crescent. Shocking. Even the crescent bowing to Christ is in the Bible. When was the last time you had a Sunday school lesson? Today we'll be discussing how the crescent moon of Islam is going to bow to Jesus Christ. And you're going to say, praise God. Oh, it's going to be offensive to the Muslims. Tell Gideon you're offensive. Tell Elijah he's offensive. Tell these men who challenged the prophet of Baal that they're offensive. And maybe you should talk to God. God, your son is offensive. He called the Pharisees snakes, sepulchres. He was offensive. Did you not learn how to not spare the child the rod? You should have spanked Jesus, Father. Sometimes it is offensive. Rude awakening. But look what it says. I read that. I was shocked. Uh-oh. Verse 16, it says, fill their faces with shame. Make them lose the war against the Jews, that they may seek your name, O Lord. God loves the Muslims. He made them lose against Israel. He tells you why. Fill their faces with shame. Affrighten them with thy storm. It's exactly what I saw in 6 Days War. The Muslims ran, the Arabs ran, afraid. Fear hit the armies. I was there, I saw it. Everybody saw it. What's wrong with our army? The men are taking their uniforms off and running with their underwears in the streets. Afraid of the Israelis. Fill their faces with shame. Affrighten them with thy storm. Shocking. Even the fear is in the Bible that God will put in the enemies of Israel. Fill their faces with shame that they may seek your name, O Lord. I thought I knew God's name. I thought his name was Allah. This is a different name. What is the Lord's name? Search the Bible. His name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His name shall be called Emmanuel, which is God with us. And as he stands on the Mount of Olives, in Zechariah 14, it says, then the Lord will go forth and fight. The Lord God will go forth and fight. And in that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. I ask myself the question as a Muslim, when did the Lord have feet? In the Old Testament, how could the Lord have feet? Are those Christians right? They have to be right. Maria, you're a very smart woman. That's why I wrote the Shoebat epistle, chapter 1, verse 1. Man thought he was smart, and woman is smarter. The Bible healed my marriage. Oh, when I said, Christ, come in. Come in. That was it. And there I was, filled with joy. Couldn't explain that joy that I had. Nobody was witnessing to me. I wasn't going to church service. Walked into Sunday school, started listening, and couldn't figure out what they're talking about because the stuff they were talking about was not in the Bible. I began to realize fairly quickly the church has a problem. There is Bible talk and lack of Bible text. They do not like Bible text. They like Bible talk. Blah, 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 blah. I learned fairly quickly that the Bible is a blessing and a curse. It's a curse if you read into it what it doesn't say. And it's a blessing if you allow the text to read to you what God says. You got to look at the text and what it says. And I know the stuff is foreign to you, but it's in the text. I just read it. The first believers, they ignored the text and they listened to the Pharisees. And the Pharisees told them, oh, the Messiah comes riding on a horse. And they forgot to read Zechariah, which says, he comes riding on a jackass. And the ones with the horse theory went to Jerusalem, saw the jackass riding. That's not the Messiah. Kill him! Crucify him! And the ones with the jackass theory said, that's the Messiah. Follow him. The ones with the horse theory ended up in hell. The ones with the jackass theory ended up in heaven. That was the first coming of Jesus Christ. The jackass versus the horse was crucial. What about the second coming? How crucial is it for you to understand the signs, the real signs of Christ's second coming and how he comes and what happens? It is detrimental. So tonight, anybody who believes in the horse theory, please don't show up. You're on your way to hell. Anybody believes in the donkey theory, please do show up. We're going to have some T-bone steak for a change. God bless you and thank you very much. Of things, of what happens to some of our troops who are captured in Fallujah, but it must be discussed. Because the Bible discusses many of these things. Even in the Bible it says, and I saw the martyrs that were beheaded in the name of Jesus. In other words, there's going to be beheadings. What part of beheading do you not understand? And the days I was in Chicago, we had youth. I mean, your youth, what are they doing these days? Having nice songs, love, peace, and our youth services in Chicago as Muslims. I mean, you can download it on YouTube. It's in my website. You can see the kind of events we used to host. We had hymns. Some of the Islamic hymns that were sung. What kind of hymns did we have? نحن الذين بنينا حصوننا من جماجم. We are a people who build our fortresses out of the skulls of the people that we invade. That's maybe it's just an allegory. Skulls of the people that we invaded. Well, there was a literal fortress built out of skulls in India, built by the Muslims when they invaded India. How many Americans know that the greatest catastrophe that happened or massacre that happened in the history of mankind happened in India? The Muslims killed 80 million. 80 million. In fact, no one has been massacred in history in the Christian world more than Islam. Forget the Roman Empire. If you compare the Roman Empire with the Islamic Empire of the massacre of Christians, it's nothing, dust. What about the churches in the Bible, in the book of Revelation? What about the church of Smyrna, one of the 7 churches? How many times do you have Sunday school in which the Sunday school teacher will say, we're going to discuss the church of Smyrna. You know, the church of Thyatira, there are different churches in the book of Revelation. What about the church of Smyrna? When was the last time you had a discussion in Sunday school? Today we'll be discussing the church of Smyrna. What happened to the church of Smyrna? Anybody here knows what happened to the church of Smyrna? How it ended? Nobody. Why? It's in the Bible. They were beheaded in the early 1900s. 1920-something, the Turks, the Muslims, decided to, and you get eternal life by dying fighting the enemy. In other words, you must die. So you must be killed in warfare. This is why when the Israelis began to shoot bullets in the air, we opened our shirts. We wanted to die. Why? Because Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, said, by the first drop of the martyr's blood, his sins are forgiven. And he enters paradise, and he becomes an intercessor for 70 members of his or her family. Hello? I know you haven't gotten this piece, because you're not connecting the dots. By the first drop of the martyr's blood, his sins are forgiven. Now, when I read the Bible, I understood Christianity as follows. When Jesus' blood came down, when his blood was spilled, what happened? That's it. The separation has been rent asunder, and now people can come in. They can be redeemed. His blood made us as white as snow. His death, by his death we are redeemed. And so someone, somewhere, concocted a different tainted salvation plan to tell the people, by your own death you enter paradise, by the shedding of your own blood you enter paradise. And by the way, this is not just in Islam. The Mayans used to kill and behead and pluck hearts. I mean, there's all kinds of things. The devil is in the business of creating wacky religions. And he knows the desire of mankind to want to go to the afterlife. So he's in the business of inventing religions. And Islam is an invention of Lucifer. Oh, well, that's offensive, what I just said. Everything I said is offensive. It is. You might get offended. You know, every place I speak, somebody gets offended. But you know, I learned that you have a right to be offended. In fact, I will die for your right to be offended about what I say. Because that's what freedom is. But while you have a right to be offended, and I will die for your right to be offended, because men and women died before and massacre the church of Smyrna. And the woman came running towards the loading dock, and there was Western ships there, military ships, American, European ships. And they were pleading for their lives. And the orders came that, you know, we shouldn't be interfering in this problem between the Smyrna and the Turks, because we are having right now a delicate peace process. We don't want to disturb the delicate peace negotiations between the Ottoman Turks and the Western allies. Peace negotiations, the delicate peace process. It's so delicate, this peace process, that we all got to die for it. This is why whenever I hear peace process, I'm really alarmed. When I hear war, I rejoice. Because sometimes war is good. Sometimes it is important to bomb Dresden to get rid of the world from Nazism. Not all wars are bad. You have to have wars sometimes. Sometimes you have no choice. You were attacked at Pearl Harbor. You had to have a war. You ended up even bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki and annihilating those cities and ended the war. That's war. But that's always the case. The Church of Smyrna was massacred. And the Ottoman Empire finally was defeated. And now the Ottoman Empire basically is rising again. The Turks are talking about neo-Ottomanism, and they're basically mustering a lot of Arab nations into reviving this Islamic caliphate. And of course, Mahdism is on the talk these days. Even Ahmadinejad is talking that the Mahdi is going to be coming soon, because Egypt is falling to Islam. Tunisia, Libya is going to fall to Islam, and the Islamic Empire will revive as it was in the glory days. And I know you're thinking that I'm a strange fellow talking this stuff on the stage, especially the youth right now. But when you grow up, you'll remember what I said, and you'll be dealing with the issue of Islam for many years to come. Islam will be the issue, the major issue that this country will contend with. The oil issues, oil prices will rise, and the monopoly on the oil by the Muslim nations, they will use. All right, we gave the applesauce to the first service. They're gone now. We're going to give the vegetables in the second service, and we'll give the T-bone steak tonight. But I heard that the youth were not coming tonight. Is that right, Pastor? Where's the pastor? The youth is not coming tonight. I see. So, but they're not going to be here tonight. 20 of them will? Won't. Oh, only 20 of them won't. Oh, okay. Oh, we'll lose 20. The others will be refined like gold. So what makes a terrorist? I mean, I was a terrorist. That's what I was announced as ex-terrorist, Walid Shoebat. What makes a person a terrorist? What makes somebody in Fallujah drag American bodies in the streets? What makes a group of Palestinians in Ramallah Square, after killing a couple Jewish men who were lost in the street, took them to the police station and then gutted them out, and the entire community came to participate in this orgy of flesh in which they grabbed the pieces of the bodies and they praised Allahu Akbar, Allah is great, Allah is great. And it was caught in film. A lot of the film was confiscated, but some of that film leaked, and for the first time, few Americans began to see, because it wasn't put on national television. Nobody could show this stuff, it's too extreme. And for the first time, Westerners began to see, like, what in the world is going on? The capital of the state of Palestine, which you guys helped create, all of a sudden this whole night of the living dead, literally, not in a movie, but literally, in which the youth would come and hold a piece of the flesh, whether kidneys, whether intestines, hearts. See, I'm losing the crowd already. But that's the problem. How do you talk about this? Americans cannot stomach things like that. Americans buy their meat packaged already, FDA approved. They don't see the slaughterhouses. Americans are not accustomed to the reality of it, and you will basically be kowtowing to their needs because of your addiction to oil. Now you might say I was a terrorist. Well, you know, you all support terrorism. Every one of you here supports terrorism, and I can prove it. Every time you put gasoline in your SUV, you support terrorism. The money goes to Saudi Arabia, is funneled, and build mosques galore in America. Jihad is exported from the Wahhabists. The wars comes against you when you go to Iraq by this ideology that stems from Saudi Arabia, Islam. And Islam really is manipulating hundreds of thousands of Muslim youth into making them jihadis. And of course, your media doesn't tell you much because, you know, you get in CNN, you listen to the media. I remember the first time I went to the BBC in England, and they wanted to crush me because here I became Christian. I left Islam in 1993. And they had these three scholars that are supposed to be they know everything, you know. They're very smart. And I'm just a guy who's kind of a dumb terrorist who just became a fanatic Christian. So I walked into the BBC, and I remember I started explaining to them the root causes of terrorism. I said, terrorism has nothing to do with the issue of land. Forget this issue about Palestine, the occupation, the refugee problem. It has nothing to do with terrorism. Terrorism is not caused by these. Because 3/4 of suicide bombings exist in Muslim countries that have no occupation. It's got nothing to do with occupation. It's got nothing to do with poverty. It's got nothing to do with any of these things you guys are talking about in the West. The reason a terrorist want to die and kill himself is because it is mandated in the Quran. The Quran says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٌ بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. I'm not speaking in tongues. I'm reciting verses from the Quran. Do not think that the ones who die in the cause of Allah are dead, but are alive with Allah receiving His blessings. Hello? That means you pass from this life to an everlasting life. You pass through